Alright guys, such comic again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, the first roster change of the season is officially here. Vancouver Surge bench Lqgend after just 2 weekends of CDL play, 0 series wins, and 0 map wins. And that's who could possibly have seen this coming. The team they put around Lqgend before the season started transitioning straight from Halo, straight into the Pro League rather than even going to challenges. In many respects, this was an inevitability. Surge have acted now. Their coach says he's standing on his decisions, but arguably that is not what we have seen over these last 24 hours. Very much on Twitter your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. We're going to start here. Attach says he signed a contract. It's attached, it could be anything. But the reason why I wanted to look at this really was in respect to challenges and what's happening over there. Because it wasn't long ago that Attach was saying, myself, Havoc, Octane, we might be looking to run it up for a cup. Well, it does look like Havoc is going to run it up, but not necessarily with them. Now, there was also a bit of drama about this, and we talked about this last night on the JoeDeceives show. It was a great little segment, right? Because Don, he coaches this team, and he's sitting there like, lads, I can't believe you guys are serious, right? So these guys, Spartan codes, the Sparts Prolutes, TeeJ, who we'll get back to, and Capsidor, they're on the Telluride Bush Gaming. They took the victory in the first cup. In the most recent cup we had, well, we all know who won that, right? And we'll talk about it more later today and even later in this video to some degree, that being a Lurqxx, right, in the Omit Brooklyn team. Sparts team, Bush Gaming, they were nowhere this weekend. And Sparts says, me after scrimming once after I won the cup and then loading in for the next week. And he does the whole cars, Jackson Storm, you've had your time, lightning, or I don't know, whatever he says. But, like McQueen is fading, you know the clip anyway. So basically, they won the cup and then they stopped trying. And Dom was like, yeah, probably Spart had like 70 hours on Arc Raiders this week. And apparently the whole team has been running it as well. So it's just, what is the point, right? Like, what are we in challenges to do? To try and get a spot back in the Pro League, right? Surely that's the goal. We're not just here for, at that point, you might as well just put the fries in the bag, as far as I'm concerned. If you're going to win a cup and then just give up and be like, not really feeling it this week, I'll start scrimming again in the new year. It's like, well, now is the time, right? Like, if you're going to get signed, now is the time you've got to look good. And guess what? There's an opportunity that has opened up right now. If you were top of mind, you'd be getting that opportunity, potentially. Now, maybe someone on this team is getting that opportunity anyway, but as Spart says, scrim once, think you're him, then see terrible players at him, and all of a sudden I get put the most hours in Arc Raiders the world has ever seen. So, it is an absolute clown show. They also chalked a scrim. They've been chalking a lot of scrims over the last few days. They chalked another one against Five Fears, but CDC Intel is kind of implying this might be for other reasons, as in maybe that Bush Gaming roster is not what it used to be, given the fact that Surge just need a player. We'll get back to that in a second. The reason why Attach and Havoc are relevant is because, well, what about the Stallions? Lqgend was talking about it a little bit. This is what looks like the Stallions' black team now. So Derek the GOAT is going to be scrimming with those guys. So it's Ryan, Okis, of course, Fortnite kid, lots of talent going on there. Swag checked, I think he's looked good as well. And then Derek the GOAT. Abuzah is gone. That's the team of 4 on Stallions Black, but apparently Stallions Red is going to be as follows. Encourage Swooty, but with Heist and then Havoc joining as well. Now, it'd be fascinating to see how this goes with Havoc playing for at least a little while. I think this can actually be really useful for those guys around Havoc as well. I think especially people have their opinions on Swooty, but I think there's no doubt that there's a lot of talent there. If it was better refined, I think there could be a player in him for sure. And, well, arguably, it was the same story with Lqgend, really, coming over from Halo straight into the Vancouver Surge. And as I say, we'll get to that in a second. But having a veteran presence is always going to add some value. I think it's been pretty clear that on the Huntsman over the last couple of weeks, Renegade has improved quite significantly, really. Now, of course, having Scump and especially Zinni helping coach that team and give them direction has helped in many regards. And also, it's worth noting in challenges, this is where you get the reps. At this time of the year, the challengers play way more COD than the pros do, right? There are cups every weekend. Obviously, that is if you choose to play. If you're bush gaming and you're just playing arc raiders all day, not even scrimming because you think you're the best, then okay, you don't get more reps in. But for the majority of players, challenges is actually where you get the early advantage because you just play more COD than the pro teams do, at least in terms of proper matches where you tend to learn the most. So for many players down there, it's a great opportunity these next couple of months to really put in a shift, and that opportunity is now opened up to Lqgend, not necessarily of his own accord, but it looks like until at least Ranked comes out, I think Havoc has said he does want to give this a go and take it at least reasonably seriously for the next month or so. So we'll see how they get on. It's just exciting to see a former player who was a quality player in their day come back and take it serious for a month. How would they get on, right? It's like if Octane was to come back, we saw Attach compete last year. But if Octane was to come back and played challenges or something, like, how would they do, right? It'd be an interesting question to know. We've always wondered what if Scump came back to the Pro League? I think nobody doubts that Scump could come back if he took it seriously, which he would, if he was to come back, because he didn't want to ruin the legacy or anything, and drop some good numbers and still be a very, very solid player. I'm sure the same would be true for others as well. We'll see how Havoc gets on. But let's talk about Surge, because they are the worst team in the game right now. Maybe not anymore, but we'll discuss in the coming minutes. We talked about it on the show last night. There is a Ravens team with Craze, and I rate Craze. I think that's fine. But we've got Lurqxx, Nero, and Slasher on a team with Craze. It's like one of the strangest teams that I can ever remember really seeing or talking about. Doesn't make sense for so many reasons. Slasher, okay, is he the player he used to be? No. Is he good at this game? Seemingly not. Does he like playing with rookies anyway? No. So and also they're playing remote. They're not even in the same building. So it's just from every single angle, that Ravens team is disastrous, I think, really. But yet there is a team that are worse than them in Surge, which is genuinely impressive. And that's where Surge have been over the last couple of weeks. They failed to win a single map so far. Don talked about it and said that Legend's literally dead last. His team is compromised. Look, if you played challenges for 5 months, he could be really good. And I think it's worth keeping in mind, right, that has Legend's stock taken a huge hit because of this? Look, it's obviously taken a hit. In hindsight, should he have gone to challenges instead? Possibly yes, but also let's not forget Hector said he wasn't going to let him go to a challenges team. He was only going to sell him from OpTic, effectively, because I think he was still on a contract or whatever the situation was. But he was only going to let him go to a pro team, which he did go to. If he stayed in challenges, he, in hindsight, of course, he would have stayed on the Huntsman, right? And he would have joined with Renegade, you'd imagine, and then have gone from there. Maybe that could still happen, right? Maybe that's an option. We'll see how that goes in the coming days for sure. But that probably would have been what had happened. But of course, at the time, there was no clear indication that it was going to be a Huntsman, OpTic, kind of nation, challengers team type thing. So, look, Lqgend got the opportunity to go straight into the Pro League, and fair play. But let's not forget when Shotzzy came in, he was on the verge of getting dropped himself a couple of months into his stint on Dallas, and he had the absolute God squad, right? He was playing with Huke, Illy, and Crimsix and Clayster, two of the greatest God players of all time, with Rambo as the coach, right? There was no better environment for Shotzzy to come over to COD, and still his first couple of months were very ropey indeed, and he was on the verge of the team giving up on him as well. So, no, I'm not saying Lqgend's going to become the next Shotzzy. I think people were expecting more from Lqgend and more highlight moments at least than we eventually saw. But for pretty much all the Halo players, with the exception really of Formal, who was just immediately godlike somehow as soon as he came over, everyone has struggled with this transition. It's, it's not just about gunny, right? I think you watch Legends play, there's a lot in COD, which is to some extent different to Halo. Obviously they're similar games from an FPS controller-based perspective, but in terms of where you need to position on the map, cutting off lanes, and from a positioning perspective, I think it definitely takes a bit of play. And Shotzzy also had 8 months or so of just playing Black Ops 4 Wages and Charles before Modern Warfare 19 even arrived. So for multiple reasons, Shotzzy was in a much better position to make this move than Lqgend was. And yeah, his numbers are horrific. He's 47th or 48th in the league out of 48 players in every single KD category. It's not been pretty. And, well, Scump and Lqgend say it could do a lot of damage, it's an uphill battle. And look, we said the other day, Surge have started out 0-3. They're 0-9 map count. So it's like, you're probably not making champs anyway, but if you keep Legend and you keep pushing with this program, you're definitely not making it, right? So even if Legends spends another 5 months on this team and somehow they actually improve, although the team would be totally mentally compromised at that point, then it's still probably not worth it, right? As Scump says, how big of a hole are they willing to try and dig their way out of? Well, we know the answer now. According to rumours emerging yesterday, they were making the decision to drop Legends. I don't think the decision was totally final until late last night, or at least late my time last night, at which point it was then made shortly thereafter official. Legend actually mentioned it on Ziddy's stream that he was a free agent. He dropped, he got out of the Pro 8 chat or whatever it was. And his tweet in response to this, because Surge do their own update and they say, okay, it's official, Legend will be moving to the bench as of today. So, we're just a couple of weeks in, we've already got a change. Legend says this: it was obviously absurd to be in the CDL with 0 COD experience under my belt. Got the offer, thought it was an opportunity of a lifetime, you can't refuse it. Grateful for the opportunity, learned a lot playing against the best players on COD, which kind of sounds like he might quit and go back to Halo, but it doesn't seem like he's going to do so, and I think that is for the best, right? I don't think his stock has taken a hit for sure, but I think he can go to challenges, and actually he's in a decent spot for going to challenges, and we'll discuss why in a second, and make some serious strides over the next few months down there. Ricky Atura, coach of the team, says he's got a high ceiling, a lot of upside, this move, because it's a benching, it's not a dropping. He's still on the bench, because obviously they've got him under contract, so, you're not going to drop him totally after 2 weeks, but yeah, he's obviously on the bench now. Space to continue without the pressure of immediate results. We believed in the potential, remained confident in his future. He will be moving to challenges. So Zinni talks about it and says it's probably better for both parties on this one, but I just think it's worth pointing out what Bantz had to say on this. I think Bantz's take is bang on the money, really. You've put him on a team with Gwinn, Abe and Lunarz. We can't be serious, right? That is, again, it's a strange team like the Ravens. And I don't know, who didn't predict this before the season began, right? I think we talked about Surge being an exciting team in the sense that there was so much potential for just a crash and burn in the way that this is, yeah, there was some upside there with the players they had, but it was difficult to see it working, especially, unless Legend just was formal and was immediately dropping 1.3s, then, which was incredibly unlikely, then it was always going to go this way, right? As Bant says, you picked up someone who needs time, you surrounded him with inexperience. Not only was there no clear in-game leader, right? No fellow, no slasher, accuracy, anyone of that nature, and even the coach, right? Ricky Atura, to be fair, he's an experienced coach at this point, but he's also not got playing experience on the highest level. He's not a Rambo, right? So that's also something that could have helped Legends. Proceed to drop him because he's not reaching his potential fast enough. Make it make sense, please. And I think that's the real question here. It's I can understand this decision. I think it is probably the right decision, probably for both parties. But who made this call precisely and how has it transpired? Because Ricky Atura, the coach, says, damned if you do, damned if you don't, stand on your decisions. The season is just getting started, which I thought was funny. Now, we don't know exactly how this team came together because we thought that Gwinn was really keen to play with Legend, which is why that he joined this team in the first place, because Gwinn was potentially going to go to Rocker instead or to G2. That was the rumour anyway. Now, Rickard, did he fully build this team? Was he told, you've got Legends and build the best team you can around it? Or, we don't exactly know. But he says, stand on your decision. So it's well, hang on a second. If your decision was to put Legend with these boys, then you've obviously not stood on that by getting rid of him. But apparently now he's going to stand on his decisions. I don't know. It's probably for the best. But again, you've still got a team of Gwinn, Abe and Lunarz, which is still pretty questionable. And what do you do with it, right? Because Ronnie does his article and says they're looking at a Luca, because of course they are. Why would they not? But a Luca would also be brain dead to go to Surge, I think, given that I think he's going to get better offers in the near future. So also they're looking at TeeJ Halley, because there would be a buyout from Omid potentially, and even then, would it make sense for a Luca? I somewhat doubt it. The one thing that Legend does have going for him is that he's got a load of pro points, because he's been in the league for 2 weeks. He's got got 6,000 pro points. So by over double, he's going to be the leading pro points player in challenges. He'd be the number 10 seed just on his points. So that's a big deal, right? Because that means that Legend will be on good challengers teams. He might, you know, who knows, the Huntsman might be interested as well, putting him back with Renegade. So it'll be very interesting to see how this goes. Of course, maybe Surge, given that he's still a Surge player, might have something to say about whether he plays for like an OpTic affiliated team. So that might not happen. But as I say, the other rumor is around TeeJ Halley, right? Could he be back? Is the Cookie Monster back in the league again? Has he successfully done it? It's, well, I mean, Don said last night that it's TeeJ, Spart, and Capsidal. Those are the three boys that are playing Arc Raiders all day, not playing any COD. But if TeeJ's found his way back into the league, I respect it. And to be fair, he is the type of player, like, they need someone with some experience, man. Like, oh my god, they're crying out for it. So, you know, bringing back a player like TeeJ who can run both roles, be a solid asset, drop a .95, you know, like, it's acceptable. It's understandable. I get it for sure. It's just one of those moves that you look back on the decisions and you think, wow, like, who could possibly have seen this one coming? So, very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.